first, tell us about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Scaminaci. I'm the Vice President of Engineering at TechPulse Consulting, TechPulse Professional Services, TechPulse Cloud Concept, and I'm the Representante Legal for TechPulse Latam. I'm also Ceej, the MSP Automator of MSPautomator.com. I started out my journey in automation reading blogs from Kelvin and Adam Bertram and the big MSP automators of the previous generation. They kind of inspired me, along with my Halo journey, to get deeper into automation and scripting and software development. And I noticed that there was not a lot of good resources outside of those two blogs for knowledge transfer and sharing in the MSP community. So I started the MSP Automator blog. And the whole purpose of the MSP Automator blog was to not be sponsored content. Literally, the tagline is, no sponsors, no bullshit, no ads. The whole idea is to create an environment where we can share high-level automation knowledge with the MSP community without the influence of product designers and vendors and all that kind of stuff. And it ended up accidentally becoming a huge deal. I was the first person to do zero-touch new user onboarding for Halo PSA, where somebody fills out the form in our portal and everything else is touchless from there for the user creation process and onboarding. This got the attention of Halo PSA several years ago when they were looking for onboarding partners to help other MSPs get on the platform. At that point, they approached us and they're like, hey, you guys are doing some cool stuff. Can you help other MSPs get on Halo PSA? And that's where TechPulse Professional Services was born. So MSP Automator was kind of the logical start of that process.
Do you remember the first encounter you had with Halo PSA platform?
Vaguely, I do. It was pre-COVID. We were actually very resistant to going to a PSA platform. We were using Freshservice. We tried several other help desk products. We didn't want to go with ConnectWise or Autotask. We both had previous experience with those platforms and we didn't like them. Halo was an emerging player in the market, even though they had been around for a long time as Net Help Desk. So we ran a trial of it and we actually really liked it, and we're like, okay, we're going to take the plunge, we're going to get into Halo PSA. And we tried to do it ourselves, which was a huge mistake. And about halfway through our self-implementation, we reached out and paid for some Halo professional services. I had Reese DeGrucci as my implementation expert at Halo, and this is so long ago that he actually had hair, and he taught me a lot about how the fundamentals of the system work, and kind of the rest is history.
Can you share with us the story of how TechPulse started and how everything began to take a bigger form?
Sure. I think this is probably not my story to tell because I'm not a new installation at TechPulse, but I came in pretty late in its history. TechPulse has been around about 16 years. It was started in Lafayette, Louisiana by Tyler Muck, right, my boss. We've had many divisions over the years. So we've had TechPulse Solutions, which was our on-site company with our installers and people that go around and do structured cabling and things. When I came into the picture, it was about 6 or 7 years ago. I came in to the New York City office just as a help desk engineer. Since that time, now obviously I'm second in command of all of the companies, and we're a conglomerate of companies now, a family of companies. We're at 3 entities and counting. So we've got our TechPulse Consulting, which is our MSP that we still run. We have TechPulse Professional Services, where we do Halo PSA implementation, automation, and consulting for other MSPs. TechPulse Cloud Concepts, our software company, and then TechPulse Latam, which obviously is our expansion into Latin America.
Now that you're talking about the beginnings, how was your the first time you get involved with TechPulse? How you find the company, what was your first thoughts, everything?
Probably the same way that most people find TechPulse, and that's on Indeed. I had been friends with my wife for 10 years or so. We actually met playing World of Warcraft, and I was looking to move from Chicago to New York City, and I needed to get a job. I had vowed that I would never return to the MSP industry and ended up finally settling and saying, okay, I know I can get a job quickly in the MSP industry. So I went in Indeed and I found an MSP job, and it was TechPulse. And actually Tyler himself called me to set up an interview, and I thought he was a recruiter. So I was rude to him on the phone, and I'm like, are you a recruiter? Because I'm like, I don't deal with recruiters. And it turns out he was a CEO, and then we met, and we hit it off, and the rest is kind of history. He imported me from Chicago.
What was your initial role and how you started like growing in the company?
Initial role was a tier 1 help desk engineer. So I had a lot of high level technical experience, but I didn't want to be in management again. My previous job was working for HP, and I was running a video surveillance laboratory at HP Enterprise. So we did like really complicated surveillance builds for like prisons and stuff on behalf of HP. And I didn't want to be in management. I just wanted to like punch in, do my job, punch out at the end of the day, go home, enjoy my life. That didn't last very long. Within a few months, I was up to a management position at TechPulse. Then I went to the director level. And once the TechPulse companies were consolidated under Tyler, that's when I was moved up to the vice president role.
Do you remember any challenge did you face at the beginning working at TechPulse?
Yeah, I remember that we had one particular client that would physically threaten people on the phone and stuff and like threatened to throw Tyler out the window. They were a trip. And actually our Halo journey was what enabled us to realize that despite them spending $50,000, $60,000 a month, they weren't actually profitable. So we ended up firing them as a result of our move to Halo. And things, obviously improved from there. But there's a lot of funny stories from that era, like being trapped in a glass box at WeWork with a guy that was kind of like mentally unhinged. Tyler would come down. Tyler had a separate office on a different floor, and he would come down and like tap on the glass like we were zoo animals. It was pretty funny. And then COVID happened, and then nobody saw anybody for like 3 years. But
what do you say that were your key achievements that led you to become the vice president?
I don't know if I can name several key achievements, but I'm kind of one of those people that is just on a relentless pursuit of improvement, both operationally, technically, and stuff like that. And I'm the kind of person that if we're facing a problem, I'm going to try to find a technical solution to it, unless it's not a technical problem. And in any case, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to teach myself everything I need to know about that subject matter to be able to make an informed decision. I think that's what has elevated me to that position in TechPulse, is that I'm just the kind of person that's like, okay, we're facing this problem. I'm going to learn everything about this entire domain of knowledge, and then I'm going to apply that to solve the problem. Tyler, to his credit, recognized, I think, elevated me to that position because he knew I'm a results guy, right? There's people that talk about solutions, and then there's people that implement solutions, and I'm the latter. So,
do you have any advice for someone to want to enter to the MSP world, the Halo PSA world?
Don't do it. Go work in internal IT. No, the MSP industry attracts a very specific kind of person. Usually, ironically, people that have bad ADHD tend to be like very attracted to the MSP industry because no 2 days are like, might come in today and you're going to work on 10 printer tickets and, see 3 new technologies that you never even knew existed. And that variation and variability in your workday is what really doesn't appeal to a lot of people. A lot of people just want to come in and coast. MSPs are not like that. It feels like drinking from a fire hose, right? Because it's just, you're being assaulted with tons of information all the time. But if you're into that, there is no better place to build skills fast in technology than an MSP, because you're exposed to so many different technologies all of the time. You can get 10 years of experience in 1 year working at an MSP. So my advice for people that want to get into the MSP space is don't. But if you have to, make sure that you work for an MSP that actually gives a shit about people, which is, again, very, very rare. I would say like 90% of MSPs are cults or they're sweatshops, right? And, look for the red flags to identify those MSPs. Red flags would be like, they have a minimum billable percentage that you have to meet every day for hours. If they want you to jump over that bar every single day or be fired, that's a huge red flag. A good MSP doesn't do that. A good MSP says, work your tickets, whatever hours you log against those tickets is what it is, right? Another one would be an MSP that classifies you as salary. There's a lot of debate on this topic, but the law is pretty clear in the United States that if you work for an MSP as an engineer on the help desk, you're an hourly employee. They can't classify you as a salary exempt employee and take away your overtime. Other top red flag is if they say they're like a family here. That just means it's a cult. Avoid those 3 red flags if you're looking for MSP work, and you're going to land somewhere like a TechPulse where those things don't apply.
Tell us about the software projects you have created.
I have a library of over 75 tools that I've created over the years that we use internally at TechPulse. A couple of those are public now that we've rebuilt with SaaS applications. One of them, probably the most known, is BillingBot. And BillingBot is middleware for Halo PSA that sits between Halo and the distributors and ingests distributor invoices and sends them Halo PSA invoices. That solved a very real, very tangible problem in the Halo PSA kind of ecosystem, right? Where it doesn't actually ingest invoices, it just so that was probably one of the biggest ones. We have another one coming here very shortly called QuantumOps. And QuantumOps is kind of an AI service desk adjunct, right? It does hundreds of things, but among those is basically being a drop-in replacement or adjunct to a service desk manager inside of Halo PSA.
Tell us a little bit about the experience of building BillingBot.
It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. If I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't. So BillingBot was originally a little desktop application I made called Invoice Bootstrapper, and it was to solve our internal PAX8 billing problem, where it would take Tyler and Kylie, our VP of Ops, like 7+ days every month just to hand sort through the PAX8 invoice, which is just tens of thousands of lines, and manually put them on invoices for our clients. That was one of those things that when I realized what they were doing, I was like, no, that has to change. This not okay. So I wrote Invoice Bootstrapper, and it was a fairly simple application for our needs. And when we started doing Halo PSA implementations, we realized this is a bigger problem that affects a lot of MSPs. So we're like, okay, we're going to make Invoice Bootstrapper into a SaaS application that we can, offer to our partners to solve the same problem. Huge mistake. I have huge regrets. Not because it's not a great product now, but the development of it was so complicated at a level that I didn't appreciate at the time. We thought it was gonna be really easy to just say, oh, it just takes PAX8 invoices and puts them on invoices in Halo. How hard could that be? Wrong. It was a lesson in the fact that if you see 100 Halo PSAs, they will be configured 100 different ways. We had to account for all of that logic in BillingBot, and it was an actual nightmare. We initially had hired an outsourced development team in Eastern Europe, and they were time pushers. So we spent a lot of money and we didn't make a lot of traction. The product really didn't work. So we wasted about 6 or 7 months doing that, and probably $50,000-$60,000, and we had really nothing to show for it. So I was getting ready to move to Colombia, and I called an audible, and I'm like, okay, we're going to fire the Eastern European dev team. We're going to hire somebody full-time in Latin America. And I actually got really lucky. I found one of the top Blazor developers on the planet. He still works for us. He's, basically the whole engine behind everything. His name's William, and he's awesome, right? So we started out to basically rebuild the entire product from scratch throughout everything that we had done previously. It was a rough, probably another 6 months or so, but that happened in August of 2023. And then in February of 2024, we launched BillingBot officially in the new version. We've done, I think, probably 4 or 5 huge releases since then. And now the product is completely unrecognizable compared to my initial iteration, but it's come a long way. It was a learning experience, but if I had to do it again, I wouldn't build a billing application.
Now that you mentioned Colombia, what motivated you to take the role of legal representative of TechPulse Latam?
I think because I'm here and because I'm the only one that speaks Spanish in the company. Before Vanessa worked here, I was the only option, but we had used Benchmark 365, which is an outsourcing help desk provider in the Philippines. They were great for years. I still hold James in really high regard, but we kind of outgrew them to the point that they weren't giving us what we needed. So I happen to know, based on my experiences with William and living down here, that the technical talent and capability in Latin America are pretty much far exceed what we have in the United States. Colombia actually produces the most technical graduates on this side of the planet, high-level technical graduates, and the education system in Colombia for technical graduates far surpasses what we have in the United States. So what they have done here is a ton of people willing to do a good job and that are capable of doing a good job, whereas in the United States, we kind of don't. It's really hard to attract talent to an MSP in the US because most people see it as kind of like a sweatshop and a meat grinder. So we thought we could do better here, and we have. Surprisingly, it takes us probably 600 interviews or so to hire one person in the United States. Within 20 or 30 interviews here, I had hired 3 engineers, very qualified, capable folks that are just super talented across the board. We didn't actually expect the level of success that we've had so far. It was a wake-up call, but I think that because we came here with the right attitude of not trying to go cheap, right? I think a lot of people get into like nearshoring because they think it's cheaper, but it's really not. If you do it right, it's not. You're paying pretty much the same as what you're paying in the United States for that talent. The difference is that the talent is much better. An example would be in the United States, the first thing we do when we're like reviewing resumes is we take anybody that has an IT degree and we throw them in the trash, because if you have an IT degree in the United States, your education is essentially worthless. And that's going to be a hot take, and a lot of people are probably going to downvote the video for me saying that. But it's unfortunately true, because if you think about it, the way that education works in the United States, your professor takes 10 years to get through their education, 5 years to get through their student teaching, and by the time they actually become a professor, they're 20 years out of date on their knowledge, right? And they're going to teach you that knowledge over the course of 4 years, and now you're 25 years out of date when you graduate. That's not the case here, where technology is much more real time and they are on the cutting edge. And I would encourage you that if you want to learn more about our white label solutions or about Halo PSA implementation, to reach out, like, subscribe, comment on this video, drop us a line, via email. Pretty active in the Discords and in the communities and on Reddit. You can find me. I'm pretty easy to find. I am always happy to talk to folks, and even if you're not looking to buy stuff from us, I'm always happy to share information, knowledge, experience to grow the community.